right, so now we on the side of the truck. I'm gonna start with my side marker light, which is properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. The hardware is present. It is a proper color amber. My door mirror, properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. The hardware to it is present. The glass on it is also properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. No illegal stickers, and it is adjusted to my view. My door itself is properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. My door opens and closes freely because I've checked my door hinges, which are also properly mounted and secured. They're not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware is present. My door seal, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken, not torn, cut, or frayed. It is not leaking anything inside my cab. My window, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. No illegal stickers, clean and clear. My window seal, properly mounted and secured, not torn, cut, or frayed. Allow no leaks into my cab. Come down to my DEF tank, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. It is not leaking. My cap is also properly mounted and secured. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. It is not leaking. It does have the rubber seal on the inside. Fuel tank and fuel tank straps, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. No leaks. My fuel cap, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. It is also not leaking. Has the chain and it has the safety seal on the inside. My steps, properly mounted and secured. They're not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware is present. These steps can hold my weight. Moving on to the back of the truck. We got the back of the cab, which is properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. No intrusions into my cab. My windows are properly mounted and secured. They're not bent, cracked, or broken. They're clean and clear. They have no illegal stickers. My DOT reflective tape, all properly mounted and secured. They're not torn or cut. They are the proper color. Come down to my handle, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. It can take my weight. My reverse lights, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware is present, and they are the proper color clear. We have my cabin shocks and the mounts, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware is present. The mounts are not leaking. My airbags and my airbag mounts to my cabin are properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken, not torn, cut, or frayed, and they are not leaking. My exhaust, which is down there on the passenger side at the bottom, you probably can't see it, but it's properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. Has no black soot. It is not leaking. Come over here to my airline. My air hoses, properly mounted and secured, not torn, cut, or frayed. They are not leaking. The red is my emergency. The blue is my service brake. My Glad hands are properly mounted and secured. They're not bent, cracked, or broken. They have the safety seal, which is not torn, cut, or frayed. They are not leaking from it. Matter of fact, the holder as well, these will normally be on my trailer, but right now, the holder also is properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. The pigtail to my electric line is properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. My electric line is properly mounted and secured. It's not torn, cut, or frayed. My catwalk steps, properly mounted and secured. Not bent, cracked, or broken. No illegal wells. All the hardware is present. These steps can hold my weight as long as the catwalk, as well as the catwalk, is properly mounted and secured. Not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware is present. It's free from any debris to cause me to slip. It can also hold my weight. My frame, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware to my frame is present, and my frame is free of any illegal wells. My air tanks, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. The holders are properly mounted and secured. All the hardware is present. My air tanks are not leaking. My lines, my hoses to my air tanks, they're all properly mounted and secured. They're not torn, cut, or frayed, and they are not leaking. Inside here, we got my drive shaft, which is properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken. The U joint to my drive shaft, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. It has been properly greased. My splash guards and my holder, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. My leaf spring hangers and my leaf springs and my U-bolts, I would check these the same as I did up front. My full brake system, which would include my brake hoses, my brake chamber, my slack adjuster that is back here, my push rod, all of those I would check the same as I did on the front. Inside of here I got my brake drum, my brake pads, I would check those the same as I did on the front. My shock absorber mount, I would check them the same as I did on the front. My rims, my lug nuts, my axle seal, my valve stem, I would check all of these the same as I did on the front. These are duals, so I would be checking in between to make sure that there is no debris and it's free from any dead animals. My tires on these, everything on my tires, I would check the same as I did on the front, except these are rear drive tires. These cannot be retread, and they have a minimum tread depth of 2/32. Come on back to the back. My airbags and my mounts, check them the same as I did on the front. Right here, we got my platform, which is my 5th wheel platform, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware to it is present. My release handle, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. If the trailer was hooked up, it would be in a locked position. My skid plate, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken, properly greased. And we have my pivot pin, which is properly mounted and secured. It is in its proper position. I'm gonna come on back here. If we would be doing more than one axle, I would do the same thing here. My leaf spring hanger, my leaf spring, my U-bolts, I would check those the same as I did just there. My shock absorber mounts, I would check the same as I did up in the front. My airbags and mounts, check those the same as I did up front. My full brake system, my brake hose, my brake lines, my brake chamber, my slack adjuster, my push rod, my brake drum, my brake pads, I would check all of those the same as I did up front. Tires, same as I did up front, with the exception, like I said here, these are dual, so I would be checking them between. These tires are rear drive tires. They cannot be retread with a minimum of 2/32 tread depth. My rims, my lug nuts, my axle seal, my valve stem, all of this I would check the same as I did up front. Come on back here. My rear differential, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. It is not leaking. My torque arm, properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. And my locking jaws, they're properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. With the trailer hooked up, it would be in the locked position. We have my mud flap hangers or my splash guard hangers. They're properly mounted and secured. My mud flaps are properly mounted and secured, not torn, cut, or frayed, at least 8 inches off the ground. Have my DOT reflective tape, which is properly mounted and secured. They're not torn or cut, and they are the proper color. Moving on to the back, we got my reverse lights and my brake lights, which are properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. The hardware is present. They are the proper color for my brake lights and my proper color clear for my reverse lights. These are red. Also, we would have my tag back here. If I don't have my trailer hooked up, my tag would be back here, and it would be properly mounted and secured, not bent, cracked, or broken. All the hardware will be present. The numbers will be visible and up to date. And that completes my pre-trip.